She threw my duffel bag across the room. It hit the base of the Christmas tree. Ornaments rattled. One of them cracked, a little porcelain angel I bought when I was 12. I had carried that ornament in my pocket every December since I moved away. No one looked at me. Mom sat by the fireplace, sipping wine out of her favorite Christmas mug, the one that said, "Blessed Mama," in gold cursive. She didn't even blink. "You're a burden," she said flatly. "Always have been. I don't know why you came." I stood there in the doorway. My coat still zipped. My boots still wet. I'd taken a 3-day bus ride from California just to make it home for Christmas Eve. I'd skipped shifts, borrowed money, packed gifts I couldn't afford, because I believed that maybe, just maybe, family mattered more than resentment. I looked at my brother. He avoided my eyes, chewing his honey ham like nothing happened. My sister, fresh curls, red nails and fake pearls, was too busy scrolling her phone to care. "I sent money every month," I said quietly. "For 10 years. Mom laughed. "Oh, so now you're here for credit? Sweetheart, we never asked you to play the martyr. You made your choices." I turned to Dad. He sighed and walked into the kitchen without a word. That's when it hit me. This wasn't cruelty. It was routine. And I had been too loyal to see it. I just wanted to spend Christmas with my family. "You did," my sister muttered. "Now go." I picked up my bag and walked out into the snow. The cold bit through my gloves. I caught the last bus to my grandmother's house across town. When she opened the door, her expression dropped. She didn't even let me in. "Honey," she whispered, "this isn't your home anymore." That was the night I slept in a bus station. Alone. On Christmas Eve. But a week later, they were laughing in the newspaper, smiling at a church gala they had no idea I secretly funded. And a month later, they weren't smiling anymore. Her name was Alina Grace Matthews. Born and raised in the quiet town of Salem, Oregon, nestled between the evergreens and the whispering winds, Alina came from a devout Christian family. Sundays were never optional. They were sacred. Church in the morning. Choir practice in the evening. And when December rolled around, the whole house transformed. Twinkling lights on the porch. Pine-scented candles. Nativity scenes. Homemade cookies cooling on the windowsill. Christmas wasn't just a holiday. It was a heartbeat. A promise. A homecoming. Alina was the eldest of 3. The reliable one. The helper. The peacemaker. The one who always said yes, even when her heart whispered no. From a young age, she carried burdens too big for her small shoulders. When her father passed suddenly from a heart attack, Alina, only 19, stepped into the role of provider without hesitation. While others grieved, she organized the funeral. While others broke, she stood. Quietly. Firmly. With a strength that didn't shout, but held everyone up. She moved to California not for herself, but for them. Her family said the job was temporary. Just until things got better. Just until the debts were paid. But years passed. And Alina stayed. Working at a retirement home on the outskirts of Santa Clara. Changing sheets. Washing wounds. Holding trembling hands of those no longer remembered by their own children. She gave them dignity, even as her own life grew emptier. 10 years. 10 Christmases. She sent money back home every month. Faithfully. Not because they asked, but because they expected. Her younger brother, Jacob, always had a new youth outreach project. Her sister, Lily, needed tuition for another semester. Her mother's health, always fragile, always urgent. No one ever asked if Alina was okay. If she had enough for rent. If her heart was holding on. She had dreams once. Simple ones. A little bookstore near the beach. A dog. A partner who saw her, really saw her. But year after year, she told herself she could wait. That family came first. That her time would come later. After Jacob got on his feet. After Lily graduated. After Mom stabilized. Later. Always later. She watched her 20s disappear in fluorescent hallways and quiet goodbyes. She skipped weddings. Missed birthdays. Let go of love more than once. All for them. All for the people she believed would never forget her sacrifice. And still, she believed in Christmas. Every December, she decorated her tiny apartment with dollar store lights. Baked her famous gingerbread cookies. Hung up 3 stockings labeled Jacob, Lily, Mom. Hope kept her going. Hope that this Christmas, they'd ask her to come home. That someone would say, Alina, you matter too. But the calls grew fewer. The thank yous colder. Until even Christmas morning came and went. With silence. Alina Grace Matthews was the kind of woman the world walks past, but should have stopped to thank. A caregiver. A giver. A believer in joy, even when joy forgot her name. And what she didn't know was that the greatest betrayal wasn't coming from strangers. It was already sitting at her table, in every unopened letter, every ignored message, every smile that asked for more, but never gave back. But that part of the story comes later. For now, all you need to know is this. She gave up everything, so they could have something. And they gave her nothing in return. At first, the betrayals were small. So small, that Alina didn't even call them betrayals. Just misunderstandings. Just family being family. The calls from home had slowed over the years. But they still came. Eventually. And every time her phone lit up with their names, her heart fluttered. They remembered me, she'd whisper with a smile. But the pattern became harder to ignore. They only called when they needed something. A wire transfer. A bill. A late fee. Tuition. Rent. Medical emergencies. A broken heater. A youth event. A last-minute business pitch. Each request was dressed in urgency, drenched in guilt. And Alina always answered. Always paid. Because love, to her, meant sacrifice. Until one night, scrolling through her sister's social media, she froze. Lily had posted a quote, bold, judgmental, unmistakably targeted. Some people leave their families, live in comfort, and still want applause for being the good one. It stung. Because she knew. Lily wasn't vague. She was venomous. And under the post were hearts. Likes. Comments from mutual friends saying, so true. Preach. Girl. I know someone like that too. Alina stared at the screen for minutes. Comfort. Was this what they thought of her? She lived in a cramped studio apartment, worked double shifts, skipped dinners to afford their dreams. And still, they called her comfortable. She didn't confront Lily. She just closed the app and told herself she was overthinking it. Then came Jacob. Her brother. The one she believed in the most. The one she sent the most money to month after month, for youth camps, church drives, and future plans. One day, a friend from Salem sent her a photo. Jacob. Standing in front of a brand new coffee shop. A ribbon in one hand. A microphone in the other. Beaming with pride. He called it a family venture. But Alina had never heard about it. Not once. Not a word. She stared at the image like it was a stranger's life. Her money. Her sweat. Her support. Poured into a dream that didn't even have space for her name. She called him. He didn't pick up. She texted. He replied with one line. It just happened fast. You know how it is. She didn't know how it was. Because no one told her. And then, there was Mom. Sweet, unpredictable, impossible Mom. She'd call to complain. You never visit, she'd say. People ask about you, and I have nothing to say. And when Alina would try to explain the long hours, the cost of travel, the exhaustion, her mother would sigh, deep and disappointed. You're not married. No kids. What else are you so busy with? That one pierced deeper than the rest. Because it wasn't just guilt. It was mockery. Alina had given up love, real, beautiful, lasting love, because she thought they needed her more. And now, they used her sacrifices as weapons. Still, she didn't speak. Still, she held on. Because in her heart, home still meant something. She told herself, they're just tired, just stressed. They still love me. They just forgot how to show it. So, she made a decision. For the first time in 10 years, she wouldn't send gifts. She wouldn't wire money. She wouldn't wait by the phone. She would go home. She took time off work, booked a ticket, wrapped gifts in silver and red, printed photos of her with the residents she loved, even baked Mom's favorite cinnamon rolls. She was going to surprise them. She imagined the moment over and over, the looks on their faces, the tears, the hugs, the laughter, Christmas music, firelight, forgiveness. She believed with everything in her that walking through that front door would fix everything. But what Alina didn't know was that the door she remembered no longer led to home. It led to a truth she wasn't ready for. And once it opened, there would be no going back. 10 years. 10 Christmases. 10 winters spent alone, clinging to memories like they were gospel. And now, Alina Grace Matthews was going home. Not just with luggage, but with hope. She brought gifts, carefully chosen, beautifully wrapped. Her brother's favorite cologne. A rare book for her sister's thesis. Her mother's cherished cinnamon-scented lotion from the old brand she used to love. She even crocheted matching scarves for everyone, in their favorite colors. She imagined the fireplace crackling, her family rushing to hug her. Tears of joy, laughter, music, redemption. But when she stepped onto the porch of the old Matthews house, no one opened the door. She rang the bell twice. The door finally creaked open, not with joy but confusion. Lily stared at her with a blank expression. Oh, you came. No hug, no smile, just awkward silence. Inside it was decorated, but cold. Her gifts were placed on the corner table like clutter. The cinnamon rolls were barely touched. And no one looked her in the eye. They talked over her, moved past her, laughed at things she didn't understand, inside jokes from years she wasn't invited to. She tried to join in, tried to help in the kitchen, tried to reconnect. But everywhere she turned, she was in the way. A guest in the house she used to hold together. And then came Christmas dinner. She wore her best sweater, red with tiny gold threads. She had wrapped a letter for each of them, handwritten, filled with gratitude, memories, blessings. She waited for the moment to give them. But it never came. Instead, it shattered. Her mother raised a glass. Not to Alina, but to Jacob, for becoming the man of the house. To Lily, for always being present. Then she looked at Alina, with eyes that held no warmth. You know, some people only show up when it's convenient. A silence fell. The kind that freezes air. And then, the words that cut deeper than any blade. You're a burden, Alina. You left us. And now you come back for what? Applause. Her fork trembled. Her heart dropped. She looked around the table. Jacob said nothing. Lily smirked, then looked down. No one defended her. No one said her name. Not even once. She stood up, slowly, picked up her coat, left the letters on her untouched plate, and walked out the door. But it didn't end there. With tears burning in her eyes, she took a cab across town. To the one person she thought would still hold her. Grandma Evelyn. The woman who once whispered prayers into her hair and called her an angel. Alina knocked. Waited. When the door opened, Evelyn's face softened. For a moment. But then, hesitation. Sweetheart, I wasn't told you were coming. I don't have space right now. The cousins are here. I wish I could help. But maybe next time. And with that, the door gently closed. No room. No warmth. No home. She wandered the streets of Salem with 2 scarves still in her hands. One red. One blue. She finally found a bus terminal. Cold. Empty. Lit by flickering fluorescent lights. She sat on the bench. Placed her bag beside her. Wrapped the scarves around her knees. And cried without sound. No prayers. No phone calls. No one looking for her. For the first time in her life, Alina had nothing. Not even the illusion. Christmas had finally come. And it had broken her. Not with noise. But with silence. In the weeks after the gala, the Matthews name changed. Not legally. But in whispers. In the soft-spoken murmurs of Sunday morning church pews. In articles shared quietly across local news. In the silences that followed when someone mentioned their name. The truth had arrived, without anger. But it still thundered. Donations to Jacob's programs stopped. Sponsors pulled out. Lily lost her speaking invitations. Church leaders distanced themselves. Not with cruelty, but with consequence. Because the world had seen something they couldn't unsee. Alina's name was never dragged through mud. She never needed revenge. The truth had done all the work. And when her family tried to reach her, through calls, through emails, through half-hearted apologies dressed in excuses, she never replied. Not to be cruel, but because healing required distance. And some silences are sacred. Some doors should stay closed. Instead, Alina chose peace. She left the city, moved into a small cottage by the California coast, where the ocean met the sky with no interruption. A little house with white shutters and lavender in the windows. No noise. No demands. Just the sound of waves. And the rhythm of her own breath. Every morning, she walked the beach barefoot. Wrapped in a shawl she knitted herself. Free. Whole. Alone. But never lonely. Because she had herself. Because she had her mission. The Grace Project became her heartbeat. She expanded the foundation. Created shelters for women with no place to go. Built mentorships for young caregivers. Funded scholarships for girls who gave too much too soon. Every week, she received letters. From women who said, "You saved me. You understood me. You saw me." Alina kept every letter in a wooden box by her bedside. She never needed applause. But being understood felt like a kind of love. Sometimes, she'd sit by the fire at night, tea in hand, remembering what once was. Not with pain, but with clarity. She had no hatred in her heart, only space. Space for joy. Space for women like her. Space for the life she built with quiet hands and steady courage. And as the wind howled outside and the ocean whispered her name, her voice echoed in the final narration. Soft. Steady. Strong. They took my kindness for weakness. My silence for obedience. Now, my absence is the only thing they hear. And just like that, Alina Grace Matthews faded from the stories of those who used her, but rose in the lives of those she saved. Not everyone is born to fight loudly. Some are born to heal in silence. And in her silence, Alina found everything she was denied. Peace, purpose, power, and most of all, grace. Some people light candles in church but blow out the ones at home. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, you're not alone. Subscribe for more stories like this, where silence speaks louder than betrayal.